Genki! I'm so happy you're here because, yes, as the title says, I am reading One Piece for the first time. Despite growing up Japanese, I was actually raised in Korea. Oh, it's about to get real sunny. Despite growing up Japanese and being half Japanese, I actually was born and raised in Korea. So I grew up watching a lot of American things, and then sometime in my adolescence, our TV broke, and my dad was just kind of like, oh, what a blessing to not have a TV anymore. And that's when I really started to get obsessed with reading books. One Piece is the most popular anime or manga in Japan. It is the show of the Japanese people's childhood, except maybe Conan, Detective Conan. And I feel like it was really just the fact that I knew I was gonna have to commit so much time and energy into getting it done. But once we get through it, we get through it. And I am now convinced that anybody who says that they don't even want to give One Piece a chance is just afraid of commitment. Yep. I'm gonna do a little lazy girl recap and then I'm gonna go into my review, okay? Okay. Here is the entire One Piece lore by a lazy girl and Hazel. Beginning of One Piece. Okay, Gold Roger is the king of pirates, okay? He was the richest, most successful, strongest pirate in the Grand Line, which is like where all of this takes place. And he got executed by the Navy. Okay, there's like this world government, this world power, the Navy Marines. And so he gets executed. And right before he gets executed, he says, I've hidden my greatest treasure, the One Piece. And this sparks the pirate revolution. All of the pirates in the world are now searching for the One Piece. And the One Piece is somewhere in the most dangerous part of the world, the Grand Line. Now, this brings us to our protagonist. Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy, is a little kid. He's a villager boy, and all he wants to do is to become a pirate. It actually opens up to a scene where he's cutting his face. Okay, he's cutting a scar. He's cutting his face. Just no explanation. He's cutting his face, and everyone's kind of laughing at him. And he's like, it doesn't hurt. I'm not afraid. I just want to be a pirate. And you meet Shanks. Red-haired Shanks. He's a pirate captain. And he's just laughing. He's like, Luffy, like, you're crazy. It's a really dangerous place. Luffy cuts his face in an attempt to show Shanks just how strong he is and how he's totally capable of being a pirate. But Shanks, knowing that Luffy is just a young kid, says, no, like, the sea is too dangerous. Hey, kid, maybe in 10 years we can revisit this idea. And a bunch of bandits come into the tavern at that time, and they start picking a fight with Shanks and his crew. Shanks doesn't fight, and there's a confrontation, and Shanks doesn't fight, and Luffy finds this really irritating because he's like, hey, why didn't you fight? You look like a weakling in front of those guys. And Shanks kind of very matter-of-factly says, someday you'll get it, but there's a time to fight, and there's a time to practice restraint. Here it gets revealed that Luffy's arms are really stretchy and bendy, and he has this really, like, crazy superhuman ability, and you come to find out it's because he ate a devil fruit. Now, in this world, in the One Piece world, there are different fruits, devil fruits, and they all have different powers. Luffy ate the Gomu Gomu fruit, which means rubber, and so he is rubbery. Now, the caveat is, anybody that eats a devil fruit gets superhuman powers based on the fruit. The sea curses you for eating a devil fruit, and you are unable to swim, which is, you know, an issue if you're gonna try to be a pirate king. Later, the bandits come back, and eventually one of Shanks' friends ends up getting hurt, and that's where Shanks shows his line, his boundaries, and he says, nobody ever hurts a friend of mine. I'm gonna cry, and I just started. I'm so a kerfuffle happens, they end up flying into the ocean, and then Shanks gets his arm bit off by a sea creature in order to save Luffy. After all of this, Shanks leaves Luffy's village, and Luffy says, I'm gonna be a pirate. I'm gonna be a pirate even better than you. I'm gonna have a stronger crew. I'm gonna be even more successful. I'm gonna be the greatest pirate. I'm gonna find the One Piece, and I'm gonna be the pirate king. And Shanks is like, yeah, okay, dude. There's no way you can become a pirate. But if you think you're gonna be better than us, we'll see. keep this safe for me. And he takes his iconic straw hat off his head and places it on Luffy's little head. And he says, promise me you'll give it back to me someday when you become a great pirate. 10 years later, Luffy leaves his village, sucker punches the crocodile that bit off Shanks' arm, but he is basically lost at sea. He meets Iron Mace Alvida, the lady pirate, but she has a little boy on the ship who she's kind of like using as indentured servitude, like making him work, even though he's not a pirate. And she's just being really awful to him, okay? Luffy finds himself on this ship and he busts out of a keg and everyone's like, whoa, who are you? What are you doing here? And the little boy's name is Kobe. He wears glasses and his dream is to become a Navy captain. Like, he wants to join the Navy, which means him and the pirate Luffy would be enemies because the Navy's whole thing, they're the big government, the big authority figure on the seas, and they're like the law and the order. And pirates are anything but the law and the order. So the Navy's job is to keep the pirates in their place, put the pirates in jail, execute the pirates, whatever. So Luffy knows this, but Luffy also knows that Kobe is a good guy, and Kobe's dream is to be in the Navy. And also not only that, but to actually like be a good person in the Navy. So Luffy basically beats up Alvida, and so Kobe and Luffy are now escaping. They're on the open sea on a little dinghy, and Luffy has to find a crewmate because you're not really a pirate captain unless you have a crew, right? So he hears a rumor of a very famous swordsman, a pirate bounty hunter. So you would think that, that wouldn't be the ideal kind of person to put on your pirate crew, but Luffy wants the best of the best, and this man is the greatest swordsman. Well, that he knows. But he is currently being held as a prisoner. His name is Roro Noa Zoro. Here we are at the base, the naval base of Captain Morgan, who is a Navy admiral captain. He's some kind of officer in the Navy, and he has this really shitty son, Helmeppo. You can tell he's shitty because of the way he's drawn. Helmeppo tells Zoro that if he can survive without food or water for 1 month, he'll let him go. So Zoro is doing this, and meanwhile this little girl comes up and she made onigiri, like rice balls for Zoro, but she made them with sugar because she likes sugar and she thought they would taste better with sugar, because who doesn't like sweets, right? Helmeppo kicks the rice balls out of her hands. The rice balls are all over the floor, just sticky rice covered in dirt, and she starts crying. Helmeppo walks away laughing. He has no intention of letting him go after a month. He is a liar and a scumbag. Luffy picks up the rice and he's like, ew, like nobody should eat this. This is mostly dirt now. But Zoro eats every single bit. Not only that, he tells Luffy, he says, go and find the girl and tell her that I ate her rice balls and they were amazing, which there is no way they were good because the rice balls were made with so much sugar. It's just, it shows Zoro's character, right? And Luffy wants good men on his crew. I think this is like a twofold statement because he wants good men as in like very skilled people, but he also wants people who have the same values as him. Basically, in order for Luffy to help Zoro escape, he needs his 3 swords. He's a 3-sword technique swordsman, which is unheard of. And he has to go up into the naval base to get the 3 swords. He goes up, he beats the crap out of Helmeppo, and then he meets Helmeppo's dad, Captain Morgan, a very powerful officer in the Navy and huge, giant. Zoro grew up being trained in swords, and he had a best friend, a girl best friend named Kuina, who always beat him, and he would always get so upset because he's like, you're a girl, how can I keep losing to a girl? And Kuina is just so much better than everybody else. She'd be beating all the boys at swords, okay? But they have this really amazing friendship, and Kuina tells Zoro, one day, just because of biology, and as a girl, I'll never be stronger than all the boys. One day there will be a time when, just because of age, just because of the way that our bodies are different, that you will be better than me. You will be stronger than me, and there's nothing I can do about that. So go and be the greatest swordsman. Oh my god. She dies from a disease, I think, and so now Zoro, at the brink of death, fighting Captain Morgan, is determined that he cannot die because he has to go and be the greatest swordsman for Kuina. So Luffy gets Zoro's swords and makes a deal with him. He says, I'll give you these swords if you join my crew. And Zoro's like, bruh, I'm a pirate hunter. I'm no pirate. But basically they come to this conclusion that Luffy's dream is to become the Pirate King, and Zoro has this amazing dream that Luffy supports to become the greatest swordsman. So why don't they just help each other out? And logically it makes sense. So Luffy lets Zoro out and they have this giant fight with Captain Morgan, and they win. And they end up, it's like a happy ending, and they go and have dinner at the rice ball girl, the little girl who made the rice balls, her home. And there, Kobe is kind of like really upset that Captain Morgan and Helmeppo are part of the Navy, and that Captain Morgan is an officer in the Navy, because he's so high up, but he's such an awful, evil person. Like, he's willing to kill children. And so Kobe decides, he's like, you know what? Like, I've had this dream of joining the Navy, but I want to make sure that there are good people in the Navy. I want to change the Navy and make sure that they are doing good. And so he decides that he wants to be a Navy officer. And at that point, Luffy punches Kobe in the face. And Kobe sees that Luffy is distancing himself from him so that Kobe has a chance of joining the Navy. Because if the Navy knew that Kobe and Luffy were friends, that would ruin his chances of getting in the Navy. So Luffy yet again shows what an awesome, kind person, soul that he is. Is this whole video just gonna be me crying? Is it, Hazel? And they part ways. Kobe ends up joining the Navy, starting from the bottom, and Luffy with his dream of being the Pirate King, and Zoro with his dream of becoming the greatest swordsman, head for the Grand Line. I love One Piece. I love it. I knew I was gonna love it, but I extra love it, and I'm so happy that I decided to read the manga, because at the end, I don't know if this continues forever. I'm actually curious if it does, because that would be a crazy kind of commitment that would give just Oda-san so many more respect points in my book. But not that he needs my respect, but it would just like make him like but it's the SBS. So the very, very special thing about reading One Piece is that when it originally is that I'm reading it on Shonen Jump. So Shonen is a serialized manga. So it's like this big, thick comic book that comes out every week with a bunch of different stories by different manga artists. There is a girls version, which is called Ribbon, which I read growing up, and it would have like Fruits Basket and other like shoujo manga, like manga for girls, a lot of romance, a lot of slice of life. And shonen was like the boys version of that, with more adventure, Hunter x Hunter, One Piece, Dragon Ball, like all that good stuff. And so every week One Piece would get serialized and put in Shonen Jump, and then this sound is so nostalgic to me because my mom is a night owl, and I remember going to bed at night or going to the kitchen to get a little water, and I would just because my mom would be in the living room, towel on her head because she's a nighttime shower, darkness. She's standing in the middle of the living room, darkness, towel wrapped around her wet hair. She's wearing her dad's t-shirt, no pants, no bra, white like skincare face mask on her face, and she's going it's like a fond memory. What was I saying? So Yes, because it was serialized, he has like this weekly like question corner, and his fans and readers will send in questions, and Oda-san's just such a champ. He's like really committing to the bit and really into like this role play and talking about his characters, and even seeing like fan art, even fan art from people who will years down the line, like the My Hero Academia manga artist, these kids that grew up reading One Piece, sending in their fan art, seeing it displayed in their favorite manga, and then growing up to become successful manga artists themselves. It's just super cool, and you get to see Oda-san's heart, and you get to kind of get to know him as a person and get to know his creation a little bit more, and it's really special, and you don't get that in the anime or the live action. So I think that's the super cool part of reading the manga, and one of the reasons why I wanted to read the manga, the second reason being that I'm gonna get through it so much faster, and I really wanna get One Piece under my wing. So what did I think? My boys, Luffy and Zoro. I would honestly, I'd be happy if the rest of the entirety of One Piece was just about these two characters going on, fighting bad guys, saving good guys, and getting closer and closer to their dreams. Zoro to be the greatest swordsman, Luffy to be the pirate king. These two they're like kind of cut from the same cloth. Like they're both goofy, but in very different ways. Luffy is like extroverted, big, outward goofy, and Zoro is like a subtle, dry goofy. And I love both kinds. I could see why. I saw a lot of comments on the internet saying that they couldn't really get into One Piece because it's very goofy, and it is, but that's kind of Japanese humor. If you've ever seen any old commercial from Japan or any variety TV show from Japan, it's goofy. It's very over the top, it's weird, it's strange. I don't really ever know how to describe it to anybody. One Piece is technically a story for young boys, for young children, so a little bit of goofy is good, but you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with a little bit of goofy for the small inner child that we all have inside of us. And we need that. Life is already so serious and so morbid and so sad. So why not have a little goofiness? Why not have a little ridiculousness, a little fun, a little excitement, a little adventure? And that is the theme of One Piece, is this unapologetically going for your dreams and having this conviction. And I just think it's so inspirational that Luffy is this kid that has this really big, insane dream, and he's gonna go for it no matter what it takes. And the people that meet him, you can't help but meet Luffy and want to root for Luffy because he believes in himself, so much so that you're like persuaded to believe in him as well. Not only that, you see just how much conviction he has with his moments where he's steadfast, in these moments where he shows his grit and his determination, and not only that, but his belief in other people's dreams too. This kind of like infectious feeling of Luffy being so confident in his dream that you almost feel like you can be confident in your dream as well, especially when his dream is something as big as being the Pirate King, which there can only be one. And I love, one of my favorite quotes early on is when Luffy is explaining how being the Pirate King is his dream, and somebody says, do you know how many other people want to be the Pirate King? Do you know how many people out there are trying to be the Pirate King right now? And he's like, yeah, I'm one of them. And it's just so, I don't know, just let that sink in. It's so good. Yeah, I'm super excited to embark on this journey with Luffy and Zoro and to meet more of the crew, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts and your nostalgic memories and things as well. Yeah. All I ask is that you be respectful to each other in the comments. We are all otakus here, so let's all keep it a space where we can all enjoy anime and manga together. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one where we talk about, I think, Orange Town. I'll see you there. Bye.